say that awareness is a singularity, perceptual experiences are many, and the evolution of species is actually the evolution of consciousness to express itself as multiple observers, multiple modes of observation, and multiple objects of observation. We are the eyes of the universe looking at itself. This brain is the observation deck for the universe to experience itself. That's the purpose.
The scientists that I respect are scientists who work hard to be understood, to use language clearly, to use words correctly, and to understand what is going on. We have been subjected to a kind of word salad of scientific jargon used out of context with inappropriately, apparently uncomprehendingly. There is a deep confusion going on here between the properties of things within the universe and the properties of the universe itself. It is one thing to say that the universe contains objects that have sentience and the various other properties that you mentioned. Of course it contains objects that have sentience. We are among those objects. So are dogs. So are chimpanzees. The universe contains sentience. The universe is not sentient. This is the one thing, Deepak, you seem not to understand. You're constantly confusing explanations at the level of what goes on inside the universe with the universe itself. It's not enough to say the universe contains sentience, contains purpose, etc., and say, therefore, the universe is sentient, the universe is purposeful. Evolution, you say, has a purpose, diversity, because what we see is diversity. Of course what we see is diversity. That's the consequence of evolution. But you mistake when you think that evolution is driven towards it.
Time is over.
How much time do I have to respond? How much time? So,
1:30 minutes and we,
how much?
please, 1:30, it's your turn.
So, Dr. Dawkins, I would like to remind you that ad hominem is a logical fallacy, and that's Science 101. You should know that.
Ad hominem means talking about a person
This is my
as an
turn
individual.
to speak, sir. Okay? You accuse me of jargon. You accuse me of misusing language. How many people understood what I was saying?
You're lying.
Okay? Now, I just came back from a conference on science and non-duality where there were over 300 scientists, biologists, neuroscientists, etc., who totally get this language. So just because it sounds like jargon to you doesn't mean it's jargon. You know, when a doctor speaks to a patient, the patient thinks the doctor is speaking jargon. When a mathematician speaks to people who are not mathematicians, this is an evolving science, sir. We do not know the answers to the two most fundamental questions of existence. Number one, what is the stuff of the universe? We don't know. 96% is dark energy and dark matter. Of the 4% that's atomic, 99% of that is invisible hydrogen and helium. And we don't know why there is awareness. The two most fundamental questions of our existence.
Please.
Of course,
1:30, por favor.
we don't know about dark matter, dark energy. That's why we need more science and better science in order to solve that. You've changed the subject yet again. Let's talk about sentience. You say the universe has sentience. The universe doesn't have sentience. Things in the universe have sentience. Why do you confuse this audience by saying the universe has sentience?
Can you tell me what the composition of the universe is?
That wasn't the question.
No, because you're talking things, right? Things are basically the atomic universe is stardust, and stardust has sentience in you and me. According to people like Freeman Dyson, even atoms have sentience.
Atoms have no sentience.
You disagree with Freeman Dyson?
Yeah,
then?
if that's what he says, which I doubt, I disagree with him. Atoms do not have sentience. Atoms contribute to making brains. Brains have sentience. You need a highly complicated organization. It's a fundamental error to say that because a complicated thing has a quality like sentience, musicality, mathematical ability, and is made of atoms, therefore the atoms have sentience, musical ability, mathematical ability, etc. They do not. Atoms have to be arranged in complicated organizations, complicated structures interacting with each other, and then you will get emergent properties such as sentience, such as poetry, such as mathematical ability, such as spirituality. These things do not inhere in the atoms themselves, or if they do, you've got a hard job to prove it.
You have a hard job to prove it? Can you prove it?
I'm sure you're aware of the hard problem of consciousness. I'm sure you're aware that we have no science that tells us why we have any experience, whether it's mental, subjective, or it's an experience of the objective world. How photons coming and hitting our retina create the experience of a three-dimensional reality in space and time. This is the hard problem. It's the most fundamental problem in science. First, what is the stuff of the universe? And second, why is there awareness of the universe? Is awareness of the universe and the universe the same thing? Because if there was a universe outside of your awareness, for all practical purposes, you would never know it. So to say that sentience is an emergent property is assuming that only brains produce consciousness, whereas in fact, even a single fertilized cell, when you were conceived, was fully alive, was fully aware, and did not have a brain. It was present, it was aware, and it differentiated into trillions of cells, more than all the stars in the Milky Way galaxy, to create who you are. So to say that sentience requires an emergence through evolution, instead of saying that actually evolution could be driven by consciousness, these are the questions that some people are asking. And if you propose that sentience is an emergent property, then answer to me why there is no science that can actually give us an explanation to the two most fundamental questions of our existence. What is the nature of the universe? What's it made up of? And why is there sentience? Why is there sentience? You know, we talk about sentience as not just human sentience, which is, of course, you know, an evolutionary process, but sentience came from sentience.
Have you seriously...
Evolution does not explain the origin of life. It only explains the transformation of species.
Yes, you changed the subject again.
You will have 1 minute and 1 minute, and we will finish with this topic of the universe. And
have you seriously just said that a single cell has consciousness?
A single cell has awareness.
What do you mean by that?
That it has the ability to respond to its environment.
Of course it has the ability to respond to its environment. That is not consciousness.
So you said a while ago, atoms get together to create complexity. How do they get together?
By processes which are well understood by biologists.
By a process which is random or intelligent?
Not intelligence.
Okay.
By the processes of embryology put together by the processes of evolution. You cannot seriously sit there and say that the hard problem of consciousness, and it is a very hard problem, is solved by saying that a single cell has consciousness.
A single cell has sentience in the fact that it can respond to its environment and express its biological autonomy.
But, okay, just 1 second, please. Un segundo, por favor. I think we're in a little loop because we cannot prove either things.
You know, I want to nail this. I want to nail this. This gets to the root of the problem.
It does.
Consciousness is something very, very complicated. Of course we don't understand it. That's why it's called the hard problem. It's something that happens when brains reach a certain level of complexity. Now, a single cell, a single neuron, a single amoeba, a single cell, a thermostat even, has sentience in your sense. But that is nothing to do with...
Has the ability to take in information, process information, and respond with autonomy. That is sentience.
That's trivial. That's utterly trivial.
You're confusing perception with awareness. Perception is not fundamental reality. If there was an insect with 100 eyes looking at me, it wouldn't experience the same me as you are. So perception is a species-specific and culture-specific experience in consciousness. It has nothing to do with fundamental reality, the awareness that differentiates into what we call, in us anyway, cognition, perception, imagination, insight, intuition, creativity, choice, freedom, the desire for meaning, purpose. All of that are expressions of awareness as consciousness and influence everything that we experience in life.
You think a single cell has that? And you think
a
a single
cell
cell
has a rudimentary form of awareness.
Do you think an atom has that?
Sorry?
Do you think an atom has that?
According to Freeman Dyson, yes.
Freeman Dyson says an atom has awareness.
Yes, sir. Check it out.
Señoras y señores, un aplauso para los dos. ¡Qué extraordinario!
Also,
Deepak, 1 second, please. At the end, the problem is that we cannot prove it very well, and we'll talk about it but just 1 second. Changing a little bit about the topic, the second box of our dialogue has to do with science. I have been very surprised that you, for example, you mentioned, well, both of us, we share the same background in biology, in medicine, in science. The question is, how come that you share the same scientific background and you differ so much? My question is, are there two types of science, or he went to a school that it was not really a very good school, or you went to the wrong school, or what's going on here? Or there is a physics quantity